Do you know how to identify health issues with your home? If not, let's find out.
Heal Your Home with Jason Ratcliffe.
Within this week's episode of Heal Your Home, I'm going to give you and your family a checklist to identify all areas in your home that may be affecting you and your family's health. I'm also going to have a tenant top tip and answering a listener question. But first, let's delve in to the nitty-gritty of your home.
Heal Your Home with Jason Ratcliffe.
So what is well-being within your home? Well, well-being basically is anything that involves you and your family's health, whether that's physical, mental, psychological, sustainable, or financial. But really, what does that mean to general public? Well, to be honest with you, it can mean an awful lot of things, and anywhere from gaining a good night's sleep to having somewhere to rejuvenate and revitalize and just unwind after a busy day. But also to keep those pennies in your pocket to make sure you're not overpaying for bills such as heating or water, energy efficient electricity, for example. These things can link to all sorts of issues, and these, to be honest with you, are not readily recognized within the industry or within any sector, including housing and medical. So this is something that needs a lot more work. But now these are the top tips to make sure that you and your family can easily identify without having to always go to experts, to make sure that you're safe within your home environment. Now, the first tip is auditing your home's physical environment. To be honest with you, just having a bit of common sense, it sounds silly, it's not overcomplicated, making sure that you're able to have a good temperature and constant temperature in your home, normally around 18 degrees or a little bit less when you're sleeping, depends on your preference, but also then around 21 degrees when you're going day to day and you're in the day and using your home for general purposes. This basically allows you to ensure you have a comfortable temperature, because if it's too low, a lot of health research states that anything under 12 degrees can start thickening your blood, increasing blood pressure and causing an increased risk of stroke. That's 12 degrees. That's really not that cold, really. And a lot of people can feel quite resistant to that and even feel that just a little bit of a nip in the air. So it's really important to make sure that you're identifying this through thermostats in your home and potentially central heating system, smart meters, things like that. They're easily accessible and they are quite cheap to obtain. But also vice versa, if it's really hot, so if it's around 24 degrees, that can cause a lot of health issues in itself, including to vulnerable people or young children. So making sure you hit that sweet spot of between 18 to 21 degrees really can help make sure you keep health issues at bay. But also going into damp issues, it helps prevent, especially in older properties, helps prevent damp coming in and causing issues and things like black spot mold occurring. So point 2 that I want to share with you is about designing a space within your home that you and your family can retreat to. And it's a safe space. That's really important. So make sure the hustle and bustle of everyday life is away from you, and to make sure that it's not used for other things such as working. It's not a work environment. It's not a social environment. It is just a space within your home that you and your family can go to and retreat and unwind. So this can be an area where you can listen to music, where you can just relax and watch some TV, or you can read a book. But it's somewhere where there is no connection to the outside world. Then something like this is so important. And also research shows, including from my own personal use as well as my clients, that having various plants and greenery is a fantastic way of being able to relax. And also that biophilic design, which is basically plant design, is able to then filter out any pollutants in the air, being able to increase the oxygen in that environment, and again helps you just revitalize. But also reverting back to point 1, it's really important to make sure that the living temperature in that space is well maintained and it's constant, because you don't want an area which is really cold, it's really hard to heat or maintain a comfortable living temperature. So somewhere like a greenhouse or a conservatory or somewhere where there's lots of windows, where you're going to get a lot of solar glare, probably isn't the best place to have your safe, relaxing space. But also looking at noise disturbance and noise cancelling. Don't have it somewhere where there's a busy main road or children playing outside, or you can hear your phone ringing, for example. But also, it's not just about interior design. There is neuroscience involved. Now, there's actually research that shows your brain needs these visual escapes to down-regulate and stress and release those stress or get rid of those hormones to then be able to relax, because it is so important to be able to just unwind, because if you're not careful, it can be a pressure cooker that's just continuously building up within your home environment, where you have hustle and bustle, you may not have quite finished work, and things just accumulate. And before you know it, subconsciously, you don't even need to be thinking about it consciously, you will end up in an environment where it's toxic and you can never escape, and you just feel tired all the time. And that's then when a lot of health issues come in. Point 3 that I'm going to share with you in this podcast is really a change of mindset. I want you to think that heating your home and general well-being in your home is not a luxury. Now, I know a lot of these things can seem like difficult things to implement, especially if funds are tight, especially as living costs are increasing. But there are so many different things that we can do within our home environment to make sure that they are actually working in our favor. Now, this is so important to think. It is not a luxury. It is vital as any prescription, any kind of medication that you take. It is so important to make sure that you and your family have a safe place outside of the hustle and bustle of the outside to be able to come in and relax and unwind. Now, this reframing of the mindset and home improvements is non-negotiable healthcare. It is so important to understand. Point 4, again, reverts back to non-professional. You do not need experience or expertise or a great depth of understanding in building pathology or well-being, anything like that. You just need to observe your surroundings, observe your home, see what is causing you discomfort, which is causing your family discomfort, and try and regulate and note that. So make a checklist, get your pen and paper out and write down even a diary of times, days when things may occur, because they may not happen every day and it may not be obvious. And maybe try and get your family involved in this activity. So have a family contributing towards this diary, as it were, of well-being disturbances when people may feel stressed, disorientated, anxious, may not be able to sleep, may particularly have certain times of the year where colds and flu start perking up. These sorts of routine diary entries are so important to then be able to start identifying common areas within your home environment.
And now, a listener question for Heal Your Home.
This week's listener question is from Dave from Winchester. He has a particularly on-point question, which is why it's great for this episode. He has a home that's directly opposite a playground, and he's on night shifts and has awful trouble trying to sleep in the day. As you can imagine, it's pretty noisy. What I would be looking at here is getting yourself some really heavy curtains if you can. Blackout curtains, they normally then double up as sound dampening. And also looking at putting those over your windows if you've got any doors leading to outside corridors or hallways, which then might be allowing that noise to enter into your bedroom. But also then looking at potentially having some form of white noise or rain sounds, waves, anything that may well calm you, and also then cancel out any of those noises from the external factors such as children playing. So I hope that does help. If there's any more in-depth information you can pass on, if that doesn't help, then I'm more than happy to look over that for you.
Jason's Tenant Top Tip.
So this week's Tenant Top Tip is really simple. Grab a checklist, have a look around your home, and identify and write down any areas that you notice a draft, whether there's any pipework coming in from the outside that might well be causing you issues such as black spot mold condensation. Have a look to see if there's any areas where you notice musty smells, and also making sure that you write down any areas where there might be light getting in from the outside, from street lamps, for example, or areas of really noisy, noticeable, uncomfortable areas in your home. These are areas, and all of this creates a bigger, better picture to then be able to do things about it within your home. You do not need to have big renovation works to make sure that that works for you as a tenant and within your rights as a tenant to have quiet enjoyment of your home.
Heal Your Home with Jason Ratcliffe.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Heal Your Home. Why not check out the full array of our services at jason-ratcliffe.co.uk. Here you will also be able to find top tips and guides which are free to download. You can submit listener questions through our website or email us at hello@jason-ratcliffe.co.uk, and we'll do our absolute best to get you on our show under listener questions. Don't forget, you can subscribe anywhere you listen to your podcasts and YouTube if you're watching along. It really does mean a lot, and your support is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. Your health, your future, it all starts here.